So this session is collaborating for student academic success. And from SUNY Cortland, it's Chris Kubels from SAWS, Lori Schlitt from Advisement and Transition, and Jeremy Zay-Hireman from Disability Resources.
Okay, hello everybody, good morning. And welcome to our Collaborating for Student Academic Success presentation. The conference theme this year is Elevate Learning, Taking Education Higher. So with that being said, Jeremy, Lori, and myself would like to talk about two different technology initiatives where the collaboration to bring these initiatives to fruition was critical in helping elevate learning, student retention rates, student academic success, and also streamlining some administrative workflows. So Jeremy and Lori are going to talk about the two different technology initiatives, respectively. But the main emphasis of our presentation is going to be on the collaboration that we had and kind of the communication processes and some of the best practices we used to make these initiatives successful. So with that being said, I'd like to kind of just talk a little bit about my role on campus and how our department functions within this campus. So I'm part of Systems Administration and Web Services, and my title on campus is a Senior Software Engineer. Our mission, Systems Administration and Web Services mission, is to maintain our data center infrastructure, that's servers, storage, other technology appliances, maintain our cloud infrastructure, our cloud environment, Office 365, things like that. But we're also responsible for designing and maintaining many different web applications, databases, and really just other technology solutions on campus. So my role specifically is I'm part of the WS in SAWS, so Systems Administration Web Services, SAWS. And you can see my great SAWS graphics. So I'm part of the web services team. And if somebody were to ask me what I do every day in a single sentence, I would say that I create solutions to problems using technology. So our department is a little bit unique within the SUNY system, I think. I don't think that there's many software engineers within SUNY. It's a bit of a unique position in general. We're not quite banner programmers, although we do work very closely with student databases, so some of our technology solutions may integrate very closely with banner data or other student information systems. So as a software engineer, we typically build these solutions, but we don't always have to build something new. Sometimes we're able to use other technology that we already have and maybe configure it in a certain way to solve a specific problem. But what's nice about our uniqueness is that it allows us kind of the freedom to build technology solutions from the ground up. And that means that we can build these solutions with SUNY Cortland specific requirements. We can tailor them to be exactly what we need for SUNY Cortland, specific to our requirements, specific to our own infrastructure. So I think that our department is very effective in that way. So yeah, that's kind of just an introduction of myself and kind of my role and department's role on campus.
Thanks, Chris. Chris said that he solves problems using technology, and we'll start by describing the problem that our office had. I'm in the Disability Resources office, and we've had a testing center on campus where we administer exams for students when professors are unable to provide the test accommodations. Maybe they don't have enough time to do the extended time, maybe they don't have the software that's required for the students, and so the students come to us and we provide the test accommodations. That requires a lot of communication between us, between students, between faculty, and the way we used to always do that communication was with old triplicate carbon copy forms. And it's hard to believe that just 3 years ago we were finishing our last semester of using triplicate carbon copy forms. This was, as you imagine, very inefficient. It created a lot of barriers for our students who already face a lot of barriers on campus, on all campuses, because of our education system that is full of barriers for the kinds of learners that our students are. So we don't want to add another barrier to their burden. We want to make it as simple as possible. And having these triplicate forms where students would have to pick them up from us, bring it back to the professor, get a signature, maybe the professor isn't there, maybe the professor is an adjunct who's only here 1 day a week, and then bring it back to us, and then we have to schedule them. It was a lot for them, and we wanted to end that. We wanted to make it a lot smoother for them. It's inefficient for faculty because they were having a hard time keeping track of all these triplicate forms. They would, when they meet with students and they talk with students, they want to talk with them about the class. They don't want to deal with the hassle of these forms. And then, of course, it was very inefficient for our office doing many, especially during a finals week where we're doing dozens of exams a day, and we've got different forms for each of them, and we're trying to keep track of that in a paper scheduling book. It's not an ideal situation. So we said, let's figure something else out. Let's go online. We decided to survey our faculty and our students and see, is this something you want to do? Or is this something that is just our idea for our purposes? And as we expected, faculty and students both said, yes, online's a good idea. We're sick of these paper forms too. So I met with Chris, I met with Josh and Saws here, and we worked out, okay, what could the system look like? How could we set it up on our campus? What do you need in the system to make it work for you, for your faculty and your students? While we were setting it up, we again had meetings with faculty, meetings with students, so to prepare them for what the system was going to be like. So when they came back to campus in the fall, it wasn't a huge surprise to them. They knew what they were getting into. And then we collaborated with the technology trainer on campus to create tutorials for the new system. So faculty and students, once they learned about it, they could go to our website and find out how to use it. Even though it was pretty user-friendly and intuitive, you can't have enough information out there on how to use it, I think. Thanks. So the new system, it's students place requests online through our single sign-on portal where they do everything else on campus. That triggers an email to faculty, and faculty are like, oh, student wants to take an exam at the testing center. So they log into the system, they see all of their student requests on a dashboard, and they can approve or deny them based on, maybe the student wants to take it at a time that's not right, so the faculty member might deny it. The faculty member can provide us with all the information we need to know about the exam. Students learn as soon as a faculty member approves a request through another automated email, or the student can go in and look in their own dashboard and see all of the requests they filed with faculty throughout the semester. So they got that one central place to go to. And we had one central place to go to. Instead of all these files with student paper forms in it, we just log into the system. We can easily search for a student, find all their requests, search for a faculty member, find all their requests, have a nice little calendar that has all of our exams for the day in it. Much more streamlined, much better system. Okay. And what happened as a result of this? We had a dramatic increase in usage. Part of this was we just have more students, and I think this is seen throughout higher education. More students are coming to college and registering with disability offices. Part of it is SUNY Cortland has had a little bit of an increased enrollment over this period. But as you can see, we had a small increase, a little less than 50% of increase in students per semester, but a much larger increase in total exams. So what we're really seeing is that the students are using this service much more often, and we see that as an example of a barrier being removed. So in the past, students would maybe take an exam or two with us, maybe forget to do the paperwork for another, maybe say, I'm not going to bother, it's too much of a hassle for another one. But now it's a lot easier. They're going through the process and they're taking the exams with us. And students who maybe in the past would have just not bothered using their accommodations, not bothered using their extended time, they're using it now. And they're more likely to get equal access to their education because of it. We've surveyed students and faculty after implementation, and they report high levels of satisfaction with the service. And what this really did was it laid the groundwork for moving more of our operations online, because there's many more efficiencies that we can achieve in our office, many more barriers we can reduce for our students and for faculty in providing equal access to their students. And we're now in the process of moving in that direction. And this kind of setting this up in-house in one small area was a bit of a pilot, showing other people on campus, showing students and faculty that this can work in other areas as well. Okay. So that's a little bit about our system. Now I'll hand it over to Lori.
Thank you.
Okay. So the initiative I want to talk about is TASS, Promoting Academic Student Success. Essentially, it is a communication system. It is a pilot program. How many here are faculty in the, okay? And how many here, your campuses have Starfish? Okay. So I think our goal was always to try to get Starfish. It's been sort of that leading industry early alert system. We were not sure if it was appropriate for our campus. So I kind of leading with that. But how we got to this point is what I want to chat about. So our faculty put in a referral based on attendance, based on classroom performance, whatever their needs might be. That referral goes into advisement and transition, that's my office, and we outreach to the students using mainly email, but we will text and we will also call, depending upon what that referral is. We will reach out to the coach, we will reach out to the resident hall director, and this system gives us the opportunity to also contact the students' faculty. We can see their mid-semester estimates. Our school still uses estimates. How many here still have an estimates? See, I think we are the only one. I've learned that over the last few months. There's a reason for that. So that is what we worked with SAWS in creating. I'd love to say I had all the energy with that, but I do have to give all the kudos to Chris, and Josh helped us. Josh Peluso helped us as well in the beginning. Okay. So how did we get to that? How many here are concerned about retention and persistence and graduation rates on your campus? Every single hand should be up. SUNY, of course, wants us to focus on retention, persistence, and graduation rates. We had at Cortland pretty good retention rates. We're never satisfied as advisors and people that work with the students, but we were higher than the national average, but we started to trend downward. And I think that sparked a lot of concern for folks. Our mid-semester estimates timing is very late into the semester, and many times it's, do we just withdraw from the course? And we wanted that to be a little bit better of a communication process for our students. So in terms of student success, how should we move forward? So what we decided to do, this is about 5 years ago. So it took 5 years to build PASS. The true building of PASS took, I don't know, a couple months maybe. I think it was shorter than that, but you did all the work, so thank you. We created a mid-semester estimates committee. And what is critical with that is that it had people from our registrar's office, it had folks from our EOP office, our associate deans are critical people for this. We had faculty, staff, and student input as well. Trying to talk about this one thing, mid-semester estimates, that helps the students to gauge their academic progress. What we did, we did a few things as a committee. I mean, we even found a new academic level at Cortland to help outreach, but we decided to put together just an inventory of what we do in terms of outreach. Essentially, it's like a SWOT analysis in a way. What are our strengths with this? What are our weaknesses? It really helped us to understand folks are doing a lot of things out there. And not everyone is aware of what each department is doing. Like our business economics has a mentoring program for our students. We didn't know that until, we asked and we talked about it, and that was actually through our first year seminar program. That inventory is really critical for communication. We did what Jeremy did, and we surveyed the campus. That was really critical to get students' feedback, to get our instructors' feedback, and we had more adjunct faculty deciding to reply to that survey. They wanted to be heard as well, because that's a challenge. Any adjunct faculty in here? I mean, that's, it can be a challenge to know what's going on with campus, and being able to provide feedback is really wonderful. Our Associate Provost for Academic Affairs held a one-day student persistence think tank, and that brought in additional people, more people than the Mid-Semester Estimates Committee, which is now called the Early Alert Committee. You go through iterations. But that helped to bring so many different people in, to have a one-day breakout sessions, just to talk about what our students need, what are we missing. It's easy to get into silos, I think, sometimes. So, of course, with research, going to conferences, looking at different things. I'm looking at Amy Berg. We had a demo on our campus about 4 years ago with Starfish. And in looking at the products there, that was really kind of where we wanted to go. But will our faculty use that service? Will they use that tool to help our students? That's a huge investment. And quite frankly, we didn't know if our RIO folks had time to do that. You have your own goals that you have and objectives, and there's been a lot of change on our campus, a ton of change on our campus. So that was really just trying to think about everyone and be respectful of every person, but keeping that student at that forefront. Change and collaboration. Change creates opportunity for collaboration, and of course, collaboration creates that opportunity for innovation. With technology, that offers student affairs, academic affairs, all of us an opportunity to move forward and create something new, which is really terrific. And I feel like we had a really good experience working together, and I'll talk about some of those things in a minute. But you have to realize there are varying interests. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, we all have our own mission, our goals. We have the college's mission. So in terms of moving forward, how can we help our students succeed and flourish with a program that helps communication? We needed to review our campus culture, and we wanted to make sure we were still focusing on our mission, our strategic plan. We went through Middle States, I want to say 7 years ago. I feel like it's coming up again. That was a critical process on our campus. And we're following what we had worked out, and what the recommendations are for Middle States. So keeping all of that in mind, I think, is very helpful for whatever program you might be working on. But that review of the culture of campus is critical. So we thought of TASS. I'm not sure when we thought of the actual title with that. We wanted it to be positive, wanted to work with SAWS, and it offered that platform for really great communication efforts to move forward and creating a pilot, essentially. And we were upfront with SAWS right from the beginning. This could be temporary. You're investing your time and energy for something that might be temporary, or we might just keep moving forward with it. But this allowed us an opportunity to work out the kinks, to answer some questions faculty had, to get faculty opinion. We surveyed. The very first semester we did this was spring, and I think it was only 18 instructors. We had only 32 referrals. Quite frankly, for 18 faculty, that wasn't too bad. The feedback we got from those folks was really positive, and as we kept surveying and asking people about the process, easy to use, streamlined, again, which is a really good word. I think we like that word. What we decided to do was make sure that we set clear goals and objectives, and that's what our conversations were. We were open to ideas and suggestions. Quite frankly, we put our egos aside because we know that you have talent in SAWS that we don't have, and you know that we know our students and what they need. But that was a really nice back and forth between each other. So we focused on our strengths, and then we also focused, this is our weakness, and we need your help with that. We were honest about our needs, we shared the authority, and we shared the rewards. Our president talked about the PASS system in his opening meeting that he has every semester, and gave the SAWS group, I'm not sure if he used her name, I think he might have, because I tried to push that, which that's really important. You're all working on things, and sometimes you do not get that benefit of all that work. And you do have to consider assumptions and expectations and make sure the follow-up is clear and concise and really working together with that purpose. Why are we doing this? And it is for our students to succeed. And that's really the path that we took in order to use a system that helped us to understand what we needed. Just because our retention rates went down doesn't mean that's because we started this. We were always worried about retention. We want our students to succeed. They are going back up, but we're not going to rest on that. And our campus is moving towards Starfish. But this pilot program has really helped us to understand what we need and maybe what the goals of our faculty are. Our office, and it's very similar, we kept the lines of communication open in working with SAWS and working with our students and in working with our faculty. And we'll continue to do that when we do move forward with SAWS. And in fact, the mid-semester estimates, Josh, I'm going to call you out. With Banner 9, I am going to call you out. With Banner 9, you know, that homegrown system is going away, and that was a huge tool for our students. And again, that will probably go away once Starfish comes, but Josh is working on an interim tool. And it's the same sort of communication. And Chris is going to do it again. That's awesome. That's great being voluntold. But it's that sort of communication and collaboration that I think helped us to be successful. Now, I love the referrals to be higher. I don't have the numbers. I can tell you they're about 150 to 200 a semester. Not as high as we would like, but definitely helpful. And we've caught a lot of students in great need, from missing class, being sick, to a student that was suicidal. I mean, it runs the gamut, you know that. So I think that we wanted to show some slides as well. I'll have you talk.
Yeah, so I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of our approach to these projects when departments come to us. This is really what kind of brings our collaboration together. So the methodology that we use for these larger technology projects is something called agile development. It's more of just an idea. I put a reference to it. It originated in this thing called the Manifesto for Agile Software Development, which was this manifesto written by, I think it was 17 computer scientists, and they kind of just outlined different steps you should take with handling technology projects. I think the big thing that should be taken from this, which isn't here, is the transparency between our department and our customers or other departments that we're working with. So these are just kind of steps. Number one, requirements gathering. This is where Lori came to us and said, hey, I think we need something. Not really sure what we need, but here are the requirements of it. And this is a very careful process. This is probably the most important piece of the whole agile development ideology, because if we don't have those requirements up front, it's hard to really design something that fits the mold of exactly what they need. So that being said, when we're working with customers who put the same amount of time and effort into their idea as we're going to put into building it, the outcome is always much greater. So both of you probably remember when we were in the requirements or even the planning phase, we're meeting constantly, you know, maybe once, twice a week, going back and forth, different questions. And throughout that process, new requirements become aware. or we become aware of them that we may not have even thought about at the very beginning. And other requirements we say maybe we don't need. But again, the most important part is that back and forth, talking, collaboration, the transparency. And then even when we get into further into this process where we're actually designing, doing different mock-ups, things like that, we're still meeting back and forth. The customer is always involved in our process. So that might mean me building a couple mock-ups or doing some demos and them telling me that it's not good or we have to do something different.
So let me give you a light here for a minute, and you can see the stick figure. I mean, and this.
I was wondering if you
but
still had
this-
that,
I mean,
yeah.
But this was critical in helping us to design a next version, which I loved. You were not happy with it. You wanted to move forward into the ultimate
Sure.
of what we
I
had.
think Josh actually created that stick figure thing.
Well, John,
Um,
fabulous.
So that's a good example of us kind of taking their requirements and at least translating it on paper, something that visual that you can see our ideas. And I think we came to a meeting with that piece of paper and said, this is kind of what we're imagining. Does it align with what you're thinking as well? Anyway, that whole piece of it is very important. The right half of this is probably the most important part. The easy parts are developing it. I write some code and it's magic and it works. But the later two, the release and track and monitor is also a very big part of this, where when we release software, we're not done with it yet. Usually we put it out in the wild and see how it goes for a little bit of time. And from there, we're really, feedback that we get from that is really important to us because as time goes, our software changes. And it changes to needs or requirements that we didn't think of, things that slip through the cracks. Or there's almost always certainly little bugs or nuances that were unexpected, things that we have to fix, stuff like that. So this is really never ending. Once we create some of these projects, I mean, usually Jeremy would come to me, and about every 2 times a year, once per semester, we would meet, and Jeremy would collect all feedback from people using the system, and we'd talk about things we can do to upgrade it, make it better, enhancements, stuff like that. So they're really never-ending projects, but I guess the real point of this is to kind of show you that this was designed for software development specifically, but it can be used in so many other applications, I think. And I think just the idea of so much collaboration between our departments is really cool, and it definitely was critical in building both of these projects and making them successful. So that's kind of it for our presentation, but I do want to show you kind of some screenshots of the actual software that we created. So this would be what a student would see in the test administration system, where a student might log into this and need to request a quiz or an exam for a particular course. So as Jeremy said, this is all behind single sign-on. So when a student goes into this, we can pre-populate some of their data for them, such as you can see my name and my C number. There's a drop-down list for all the courses that the students registered in for the current semester. They can select different accommodations that they might need for whatever exam, whether they need extended time or text-to-speech or something like that. And then they can actually schedule their different quizzes, exams, or a final exam and add any notes. And once they click submit and submit this form, the instructor is actually emailed all this information. And every instructor has to approve all of these requests. So the instructor would be emailed some link where they can go in, see the information, approve, deny. And once they approve or deny the request, this is what Jeremy, and I think some of his grad assistants or other staff in his office might look at, where they see information about the request. In this case, this was a request, a quiz that had already been taken. So you can see even the start and end time from when the student begins the quiz and ends the quiz is recorded. I blanked out some of the names just for privacy concerns. We also see some additional information that the instructor adds. how is the exam going to be delivered to the office, some contact information for the instructor. And at any point, any notes can be attached to any one of these requests, whether that's helping administrative processes or students adding notes or the instructors adding notes. So there's a lot more to the test administration services system, but it's a little bit hard to get screenshots or demos. Some of the information is pretty sensitive, so I kind of did the best that we could. So moving on, this is the Promoting Academic Student Success dashboard, essentially TASS. This is what Lori and myself worked on. And this is kind of the first thing an instructor would see. This is a landing page for an instructor or even a staff who might be submitting a referral about a student. So for me, and I've submitted referrals before about students. I'm also an adjunct faculty. So if I log into this, I might see the classes I'm teaching for the current semester, and I would click load students for whatever class that I'm interested in. And when I click load students, I get a nice grid of all the students in that class. I get to see their photos, their C number, their email address. I don't think there's any other information, but it allows me to easily be able to add these students or check these students that I want to send a referral in about one or many of these students. Or done. So, well, so there's like 2 more slides quickly. So anyway, I can these are the different questions we ask about the referral. Have you missed class? Poor written work, stuff like that. You submit this. Lori can then see that information on the back end or other associate deans and administrators. And every student has kind of a profile where we can see if they're living on campus, off campus, what year they're in, their GPA. We can see all of their courses, all the instructors, their grades for the courses, deans, advisors. We can communicate directly with those people through this system. And we can also review the different referrals and keep notes on students. You know, I emailed this student this day, I reached out to this student, haven't heard from them, stuff like that. So that's really the end of our presentation. We hope you got a lot out of how we came together, and really these were pretty big technology projects, and I think that they were both very successful. So yeah, does anybody have any questions for any of us? Yeah.
Yeah, so is it copyrighted or shareable and you have CC license?
So we've tried to share our, I've definitely tried to share the test administration software with other schools before, and where I said that we were kind of a unique department comes true when we try to share some of our software, where a lot of other schools are interested in this stuff, and then we tell them kind of what it takes to stand it up on their campus, and that's where there's a gap where they may not have a group of people who are capable of doing it, or they don't have the right infrastructure. But we would certainly share these applications, no problem. Anybody could reach out to me, chris.cubells@cortland.edu, send me an email, and we can go from there. But yeah, we definitely like to share our work with other schools if we can. Any other questions? Okay.
Thanks so much, folks.